Now that Warner Brothers are working on a Harry Potter reboot television series, my question today is, will we ever see the legendary duel of 1945 between Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald, where Dumbledore defeats the man he loved and puts an end to the Dark Wizard's cause of wizarding supremacy and wins the Elder Wand? This was meant to be the climax to the Fantastic Beasts series, which originally was a trilogy and then became 5 movies, but with the second movie, and more so the third one, having a lower box office, it seems like Warner Brothers are putting all their efforts into the reboot. So it's unlikely we will ever see Fantastic Beasts 4, or even a Dumbledore miniseries, anytime in the near future. But recently there's been a lot of talk about the reboot itself, because it's meant to be a faithful adaptation. 1 book, 1 season of television, so that's 7 seasons. And remember, Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald's past is a major secondary plotline of the Deathly Hallows. So perhaps Fantastic Beasts fans could get some sort of closure in that series. But also, would they be happy with the most highly anticipated moment of the series being shoehorned into an episode of television in 10 years' time? Either as a 2-minute flashback, or even as a fleeting mention, because we only really hear about this duel in the books from Dumbledore and other sources. We never actually see it, but of course television is a different medium than a book. Right now, Warner Brothers have currently no plans for Fantastic Beasts 4 or 5, or any Wizarding World movie, according to sources. All efforts are currently on the reboot. Fantastic Beasts just didn't make enough money, especially when you compare it to Harry Potter. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them made $811 million, with a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. Crimes of Grindelwald made $648 million, with 36%. And Secrets of Dumbledore made $407 with 46%. So it didn't fill the studio's pockets, and the critics weren't really impressed. Casual fans didn't fall in love with it either. But Fantastic Beasts had a strong, passionate fan base. But we can't argue the numbers don't lie. These movies have to make money. And then you throw in the Johnny Depp situation, Ezra Miller, J.K. Rowling, or anything else that offended someone on Twitter. The brand of Fantastic Beasts was tainted. But don't get me wrong, I loved all 3 films. First one was fresh, and is very enjoyable as a standalone movie, but I also see why many didn't love it. Many people that are just here for Harry Potter and Hogwarts Castle. The second movie has major issues, especially when it comes to the plot, which is all over the place, but it had potential. But the third movie is my personal favourite, mostly because Jude Law's Albus Dumbledore is the main character. But I can see why at this point fans just weren't interested. But fear not, the Harry Potter 20-year reunion, Hogwarts Legacy, this reboot, and even the films being shown on Netflix have shown us how insanely popular the Wizarding World of Harry Potter still is, and will always be. And that reboot has the potential to be the best thing ever, or a massive disaster. And it all depends on the casting and creative decisions. Guys, I love the Harry Potter movies, all 8 of them, some more than others, and they will always have a special place in my heart because they were my childhood. But I won't lie, I'm very, very excited to see a series that could include many elements of the books that didn't make it to the films, or were changed. And it will be a major, major part of the channel in the years to come. And it's meant to be a decade-long project. So exciting times ahead. However, I still want the conclusion of that Fantastic Beasts series, or at least Dumbledore and Grindelwald's story. But just because you want something doesn't mean it's going to happen, especially when it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to make. But I know many of you guys out there, me included, were invested in that storyline. And we could argue by the third film that's what most cared about. Albus Dumbledore, not Fantastic Beasts and Newt Scamander. And honestly, I feel that Jude Law and his portrayal as Albus Dumbledore is criminally underrated. And it's a shame we'll never see him again in a longer beard and full Albus Dumbledore wizarding robes. And that goes for Grindelwald as well. Fans will never agree on which one's better, whether it's Mads Mikkelsen or Johnny Depp. Personally, I feel both performances have their merits. And it's also unfair to compare them, as we never saw Depp interact with Law's Dumbledore. And the chemistry between these two great wizards is key to their characters. Mads had that opportunity, Depp didn't. And speaking of Depp, there's so much talk about him coming back. Even Mads Mikkelsen's talked about it. But I don't think so. Even if Warner Brothers wanted more Fantastic Beasts, which currently they don't, I think they've moved on from Depp. And personally, I don't think he would come back. Warner Brothers done him dirty. And if it was me, I wouldn't even entertain the idea. They are 100% focused on that Harry Potter reboot, which will include Dumbledore's backstory in the Deathly Hallows. But I don't expect it to go beyond what's mentioned in the book. I don't expect Jude Law and Mads Mikkelsen to show up for a flashback either. I think Warner Brothers truly have moved on from Fantastic Beasts. They gave it its conclusion with the third movie. Because the new leadership at Warner Brothers Discovery wants that Harry Potter branding on their next production. They feel that was one of the major reasons why Fantastic Beasts didn't live up to it. Because it wasn't Harry Potter. It wasn't focused around Hogwarts. And if you remove all the controversy, I can see that because I've got friends who love Harry Potter who didn't give a crap about Fantastic Beasts. And it's not for all the negative reasons. They just didn't care because it wasn't Harry Potter. And at one point, I believe there was talk about a potential movie sequel in the form of The Cursed Child or another Harry Potter movie. But for multiple reasons, that didn't come to be. And with J.K. Rowling being hands-on with this production, as an executive producer, keeping it faithful, it kind of feels like this is all she's going to be doing when it comes to Harry Potter on screen. And remember, she wrote the screenplays and was heavily involved in the first two movies. And in the third one, she co-wrote it with Steve Kloves, who done the screenplays for, I think, 7 out of the 8 Harry Potter movies. And it kind of feels like on the third one, she was less and less involved. And I just don't see her coming back for a 4th or 5th film or a series other than this reboot. And if she's not writing these movies, it ain't going to happen because she owns the rights. Warner Brothers can't really do much on screen without her. And you could argue the reboot is very risky, as these movies are so beloved and it's only been a decade since the last one. But I feel if it's done right, it is the right move, especially with J.K. Rowling on board. Let's just hope it truly is faithful. I will always accept changes to adaptations. Sometimes they are a must, but we were promised a faithful adaptation, so it has to be just that. Just rough numbers, but it has to be 90% in the book, 10% changes, or whatever. It just has to be a faithful adaptation. And supposedly Peeves is going to be in it, so that's a good start. But guys, make sure you post your thoughts. Will we ever see Jude Law return as Albus Dumbledore and conclude his story? Currently, my personal opinion is no. No series, film, or flashback, but never say never. Secrets of Dumbledore wrapped up a lot of the plot lines, including the 4 main characters, Credence as well, and Dumbledore and Grindelwald did meet, and technically they did duel. But it's not the legendary duel of 1945, and it did not conclude the story. We're only 3/5 of the way through, but in the end, it's only business. And with Hogwarts Legacy making so much money, and the fan base still abuzz, I can see why they've done a reboot. We'll just have to see what happens. We'll have to see if they can keep all their promises of a faithful adaptation and being a good TV show at the same time. Plenty more Harry Potter content coming, especially once we start hearing more about the reboot itself, including casting and any more announcements. And there's plenty of other stuff on the channel. So if you enjoy what you heard today and you enjoy what you've seen in the past, maybe you're new here and you've seen stuff you like, there is more coming. So stick around. But that's enough from me. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care and I'll see you soon.